When thinking of the best and most influential Dragon Ball games, some might go to Budokai Tenkaichi 3, or even more modernly, Kakarot. But for 90s and early 2000s kids, few would argue that there was one trilogy that stood out amongst the rest. One that took up our entire bus rides home, from school, or in the backseat of our parents' car. A trilogy allowing you to play through nearly every moment of the DBZ story in depth. And those three games made up the Legacy of Goku trilogy. Now trust me, I know what you're thinking. What about the Budokai or Tenkaichi series? And don't get me wrong, those 6 games are incredible, but personally, none of them bring back those childhood memories and nostalgia quite like these 3 games did. You see, back in spring of 2002, I was still just a young elementary school kid, but I had already been a huge DBZ fan because of Toonami for nearly 3 years at this point, and I'd been gaming for probably even longer. So needless to say, there was a serious absence of games that I could play based on my favorite show, or basically my entire life at that point in my childhood. And I had long dreamed of the day that this would become a reality. Then it finally happened. One spring evening, while watching my regularly scheduled Cartoon Network programming, I finally witnessed something I've been waiting for ages. A commercial of a teenage boy turning Super Saiyan in the back seat of his parents' car. A commercial announcing the launch of my very first DBZ game, the original Legacy of Goku.
Dragon Ball Z, the Legacy of Goku, now on Game Boy Advance. Dragon Ball Z, the Legacy of Goku. Now you can get powered up.
It wouldn't be much of an exaggeration to say that this was one of the most exciting moments of my childhood. But at the time of release, there was one small problem. Or maybe it was more advanced than that. I only had a Game Boy Color. This was devastating to me, soul-crushing even, because I had waited nearly half of my entire life at that point to finally play a DBZ game. And being far too young to work, there was no possible way for me to get my hands on it. Or so I thought. As luck would have it, the Legacy of Goku released on May 14th, 2002, one day after my birthday. So, guided by all the motivation in the world, I opted to celebrate my birthday and by proxy, receive my presents one day later that year in order to finally play that one game I had dreamed of playing for so damn long. I was devastated. What the was this? I mean, how could such a successful and popular franchise like Dragon Ball let their first 2 American releases be Final Bout and this seemingly unpolished mess? Not only did I feel completely deceived and misled, because here I am at 7 years old expecting to play through the Dragon Ball story, yet I'm now on the verge of tears because I just spent the last 4 freaking hours playing as the universe's strongest man, yet getting killed over and over and over again by a damn dog. But even the parts I could follow along with, like the fight with Raditz or Vegeta, were just so disappointing because these iconic villains were so bland and just robotic. They all either shoot the same basic ki blast at you, inch towards you at the speed of a blind man crossing the street, or worse, fail to move at all. Oftentimes, seemingly forgetting they are in the midst of a heated battle. So much so that most of these dangerous foes won't even attempt to attack you unless you hit them first. Now I feel like the bad guy. Although my initial playthrough of this game nearly ruined my childhood, I must admit that upon replaying it many years later, I did find it to at least be much more enjoyable, as I now understood certain combat strategies, like how to utilize Solar Flare to basically play the game on easy mode, or just basic RPG knowledge like early game level grinding to boost your character's stats. And perhaps most importantly, the oddly high level of charm this game has. It just puts a smile on my face playing it. And while there's no doubt this was the worst of the trilogy and severely needs a remake, this is still perhaps one of the most important DBZ games of all time. Being the first, again aside from Final Bout, which doesn't really count, released in the West. Important to me because it will always remind me of a time in my life that was so much simpler, and of course the joy that it brought me initially that birthday. But most importantly, this began an era where we would receive a plethora of Dragon Ball games every year. From this point until late 2000s, it felt like every time you finished the Dragon Ball title, another was announced. So I always had something to look forward to as a kid. And also, LOG1 laid the groundwork for perhaps the most important and influential game of my childhood. A game that took not only Dragon Ball fans, but the entire world by storm. With its incredible gameplay, in-depth storytelling, and absolutely iconic soundtrack. A game that I played over and over and over again the entirety of my grade school career. One of my absolute favorites to this day, The Legacy of Goku 2. Although carrying the same name as its predecessor, this sequel took almost nothing from it, or at the very least, completely revamped just about every single aspect from the original game. From the improvements on the character models, to much more diverse and visually appealing attacks, the responsiveness of the enemies, making it so you couldn't just cheese the entirety of the game with solar flare. And of course, the significantly improved locations, which were not only much larger in scale, but so much more fun to explore. Packed with actual secrets, like saving 7 lost Namex to fight the secret boss. Cooler! And a plethora of collectible items to enhance the post-game. But perhaps most importantly, this game had depth. Nearly every story beat was covered flawlessly, even making great use of the anime's filler to provide extra mini-bosses and an entire hunt for the Dragon Ball segment, which in turn gave us a full roster of 5 or 6 playable characters, each with different attacks and style. This game also not only cemented Webfoot as iconic developers in the Dragon Ball space, give or take a few misses, but truly showed just how far a little passion, understanding of the franchise, and well, extra funding can go. Legacy of Goku 2 was so spectacular, in fact, that I struggled to imagine a world in which I wouldn't be receiving a trequel that following year. So you can imagine my confusion when there was no Legacy of Goku 3. Instead, Dragon Ball Z Buu's Fury was announced. Now, by this point, the anime had finished airing in the West, so I was well aware the Buu saga would rightfully be the next game in the trilogy. But still, for young me, the name change was very concerning. I mean, sure, it was the same developer, and it was also the right time of the year to be expecting it. But if my suspicions were correct, why on earth would they not utilize the Legacy of Goku name? To this day, the answer is still not completely clear, but one thing's for certain. When I went to FYE one late September evening with my father, a core memory was sketched into my brain. Buu's Fury was sold out. Distraught, crushed, heartbroken. Gonna be honest, I probably teared up in the store. But sensing my dismay, thankfully, the clerk offered me the copy they used to advertise the game on the game shelf. And I mean, you know damn well I accepted it. Ultimately, receiving their very last copy of the coveted Game Boy Advance exclusive Dragon Ball Z Buu's Fury. This game was incredible and just about everything I'd ever wanted in a DBZ game. Taking everything Legacy of Goku improved upon the original and adding even more on top of that. Even better looking sprites, beautiful and expansive locations, packed with a plethora of secrets and differing paths to explore. Continuously improved narration of the story, featuring perhaps the best and most in-depth rendition of the Buu arc to date, where the last game added Frieza's brother, Cooler. This entry tops that even further, somehow bringing not only the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, along with the location from the Second Coming movie, but freaking Janemba as well, with an entire chapter of the game devoted to him alone. However, these movie villains were not just placed into the post-game or as secret unlocks. They were ever so smoothly fit into the main story. It's actually really impressive. The only major downside to the trequel is that the difficulty is a bit weird, because while playing as a kid, I didn't use stat boosts or equipment to my advantage, so the entry was very difficult. That being said, replaying it now as an experienced gamer, utilizing stats and specific equipment to my advantage made the game far too easy for my liking. And also, there is way too many level barriers, which drastically slows the pace of the game even further. But still, in the grand scheme of things, these were very minor issues, not overly impacting my general enjoyability of the game. And overall, Buu's Fury is a near flawless and timeless classic. But in short, these games alone stand out as key factors in my childhood. They're games that I still replay to this very day, and the memories of playing each of these titles, even Legacy of Goku 1, contain moments that I will always look back on with nothing but fondness. If I had to rank these, I would give Legacy of Goku 2 a slight 0.5% advantage over Boo's Fury, both in the 9.3 area. And then Legacy of Goku 1, probably about a solid 6. We'll just give it a solid round 6. But again, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like below. Comment what you thought, what your favorite of the trilogy is. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. As always, peace.